The world seemed a little too bright on that hot, sunny day. It was the day we said goodbye to Mom, my rock, my confidant. Gentle but firm, she was always in my corner, no matter what life threw my way. Even now, the thought of her peaceful slumber brings tears to my eyes. Life had been moving at a good clip. Married for 7 years, a beautiful 5-year-old daughter, Grace by name, and, supposedly, happy by nature. But Mom's passing cast a long shadow. Last night's wake was a bittersweet affair. Mom's social butterfly personality meant a packed house of friends and loved ones sharing memories. Seeing them brought a sliver of comfort, a balm to the raw ache in my heart. Even Dad, who'd been a stoic pillar of strength for so long, cracked a faint smile for the first time in days. "Thank you for being here, Grace. I couldn't have done it without you," he mumbled. Surprising me, Dad wasn't exactly known for his emotional outpourings. It was all Mom, Dad. She was the glue that held us together, I replied, the immensity of her absence hitting me anew. Despite knowing it was coming, losing his life partner had clearly taken its toll. His normally broad shoulders seemed slumped, his back hunched with grief. 6 months ago, the world tilted on its axis when Mom received a terminal diagnosis. While despair threatened to consume us, Mom remained a beacon of strength. "Tears won't change things," she'd say, her voice resolute. "Let's make the most of the time we have left." And that's exactly what she did. Mom spent those precious months meticulously planning for her own passing, a master organizer to the very end. From choosing her memorial portrait to the items for her casket, everything was documented, even a list of contacts and important paperwork like insurance. The ones left behind are always so overwhelmed. I'd once remarked to her, "Mom, ever observant, must have tucked that away." By taking care of these details, she gifted us the space to grieve, to remember her with love, and to shed the tears that flowed freely now. Mom's thoughtful nature shone through even in her passing. It was just like her to have planned such a dignified goodbye. Wiping away fresh tears, I reached for my phone. It was Matthew calling just before the wake started. "Hey, I was planning to come, even if it meant running late," he explained. But Victoria seemed so down, and Mom's having a tough time too, so I decided to stay at his parents' place today. Their house was a short drive away, and I knew we'd be swamped. Plus, Victoria, despite being 5, still craved her dad sometimes. The truth was, I wasn't exactly thrilled about leaving her with Addison, my mother-in-law. Let's just say sugarcoating wasn't her forte. Her honesty often came across as harsh, and my feelings were rarely a priority. Despite my reservations and wanting Matthew by my side on this difficult day, I understood his predicament. "My loneliness probably isn't something you can relate to," I almost blurted out, but thought better of it. "I just really wish you could be here." There was a beat of silence before he replied, "Look, I can't win here. You want me to ditch Victoria and rush over. Is that what a good dad would do?" I hadn't meant it that way." "No, of course not," I sighed. "Just saying, you can't make it today. Fine. Be there tomorrow, okay? And don't guilt trip me." The call ended abruptly, leaving a sour taste in my mouth. Logically, I knew Victoria might be feeling left out. With our busy schedules, father-daughter time was limited. Maybe being with him was better than a sudden switch to her grandparents. Perhaps this could be a chance for them to bond. Trying to see the silver lining, I braced myself for a lonely night with just Dad. The next day's funeral was a scorcher. The early morning rain had done nothing to cool things down, and the humidity hung heavy in the air. My phone confirmed it was well over 100 degrees outside. Even the air-conditioned funeral home couldn't quite keep up with the heat wave. Despite the discomfort, I made sure everything was in order, determined to give Mom the respectful send-off she deserved. Saying goodbye to Mom was the hardest part. After that, the memorial service kicked off at noon. People started arriving a couple of hours beforehand, a steady stream of familiar faces from my childhood. Some said their final farewells with tears in their eyes. Others shared funny stories and cried happy tears reminiscing about Mom. There was even a touch of anger. Some folks felt Mom's passing at 60 was simply unfair. Witnessing this outpouring of love, a single thought struck me. Mom was incredibly lucky. Absolutely, Dad agreed, his voice thick with emotion. Looking around at the room filled with people whose lives Mom had touched, I couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. I need to be that kind of mom for Victoria, I vowed silently. Suddenly, a commotion erupted in the reception area. "Excuse me, Dad," I said, heading to investigate. What I saw next was unexpected, to say the least. Seriously, amongst the somber crowd of mourners dressed in black, one figure stuck out like a sore thumb. "Oh, Grace," a voice boomed across the room. It was Addison, Matthew's mom, approaching me with a wave and a smile that seemed wildly out of place. My jaw probably hit the floor. Not only was Addison late, but her outfit screamed casual Friday at the office, not funeral attire. Now, for someone who lived in a world of bright floral prints, this was practically demure. But a green flowery dress to your daughter-in-law's mother's funeral. Seriously, Addison. It is a scorcher today, she chirped, oblivious to my stunned silence. I'm already sweating like crazy. I opened my mouth to unleash a torrent about the dress, then stopped myself. Family or not, yelling at a funeral wasn't exactly appropriate. "Oh, this? Don't sweat it," Addison said, leaning in conspiratorially. Couldn't squeeze into my summer morning clothes. Guess my figure must have changed. She winked, completely missing the social faux pas she committed. Addison's insensitive comments and that outfit were pushing me towards meltdown. "Look," I forced myself to say calmly, "there's still time. Why don't we grab something appropriate together? Please, change out of that." But Addison just laughed it off. "Nah, it's fine. I already did my relative duty with a generous condolence gift. No need for extra spending." Seriously, could she be any more tone-deaf? It was hard to believe this was the woman who raised Matthew. I fought back the urge to completely lose it. At least Matthew seemed normal, right? That had to be enough. Speaking of Matthew, Addison chimed in, oblivious to my simmering rage. "We came together. He's just parking the car." "Great. I see," I mumbled, trying to contain my frustration. Suddenly, a wave of relief washed over me as I heard Victoria's excited squeal. There she was, running towards me in a darling black dress. "Victoria, you look so pretty in that dress." Grandpa picked it out. She beamed, twirling around to show off the twirling skirt. "Adorable. That's wonderful, honey," I gushed, momentarily forgetting Addison's presence. "We'll have to thank Grandpa later." Addison, however, wasn't done. "About Victoria," she began, her brow furrowed. Uh-oh, this didn't sound good. "Yes." I braced myself, knowing whatever she had to say wouldn't be pleasant. It was true. Addison hadn't offered a single word of condolence since arriving. But since she'd watched Victoria, a thank you felt obligatory. So, I mumbled a polite thanks, which Addison met with a dramatic sigh. Clearly, expressing gratitude wasn't enough for her. Here we go. Before I could even process everything, Addison was launching into attack mode. "Grace, what kind of parenting is this?" she barked. "Victoria barely eats and hardly talks anymore. Is it because she's lonely without me? Honestly, the nerve. Well, that's certainly a factor," I countered, "but there's also the issue of clinging to me and refusing to come near you, Addison. Don't tell me you've been badmouthing me to Victoria." She shot back, her voice laced with suspicion. "Absolutely not," I scoffed. "If I had, she wouldn't even step foot in your house. Believe me, I've endured your barbs alone to keep the peace." Addison just scoffed, clearly not buying it. "And Matthew? Poor guy works his fingers to the bone for the family, yet feels isolated at home," she declared dramatically. "Hold on," I interjected. "That's not fair. You know those stories about mothers and daughters ganging up on the dad? That's not us. Nothing like that is going on," she huffed. "It's just Matthew's been working crazy late lately, even on his days off. No wonder Victoria doesn't know how to interact with him. Mornings are a mad scramble getting her ready for kindergarten, then it's straight to work. He doesn't come home until the next day practically, and even his rare days off are spent mostly napping under the guise of being exhausted from work. That's why Victoria's always moping around, wondering if her dad even likes her. She finished with a dramatic head shake. Meanwhile, Matthew finally arrived, blissfully unaware of the tension simmering around him. "Sorry I'm late," he mumbled. "Parking lot was a nightmare." "Great. Just what I needed. More drama." I couldn't help but steal a glance at Victoria. How did I look to her, standing there with my head hung low? "Matthew, what are you wearing?" Addison shrieked, launching into another attack. "Seriously, do you even understand the situation? This is your mother-in-law's funeral." She gestured dramatically at his outfit, a grey polo shirt unbuttoned at the neck and navy blue pants. It wasn't exactly funeral chic. "Look, I had an outfit picked out at home," he stammered, clearly confused. "Left it laid out with proper shoes, not decorations, funeral shoes. But I stayed at your parents' place last night and..." He trailed off, frustration evident on his face. My anger was simmering too. "Matthew," I gritted out, "you could have at least gone home and changed. Coming here like this, with zero awareness." I stopped myself before blurting out absurd. Catching Addison's smug look, I knew a public meltdown wouldn't help. "After traveling all this way in this heat?" Addison boomed, her voice cutting through the hushed whispers around us. "You should be thanking him for coming at all, Grace. He took time off work to be here." "I appreciate that, Matthew," I mumbled, feeling trapped in the middle of their crossfire. Addison wasn't done though. "Don't complain about every little thing," she scolded. "A little informality. It's hot out here, and the clothes are dark. What's the big deal?" "It's not a little thing, Addison," I countered, frustration creeping back into my voice. I just wanted him to be dressed respectfully. Matthew's comment about casual wear being perfectly acceptable was the last straw. The world started to spin. How could he say that about Mom's funeral? Who needs a dark, gloomy atmosphere anyway? Addison chimed in, oblivious to my outrage. "We're family. Let's send her off with a bright and cheerful vibe, just like always. Besides, formalities are overrated these days, right?" I bet Grace's mom would have agreed. This was getting ridiculous. What was wrong with these two? Just as I was about to unleash a verbal tirade, a booming voice filled the room. We all turned towards the entrance to see my father-in-law, Jack, looking sharp in a black morning suit. Thank goodness for Jack. The sight of him, properly attired, brought unexpected tears of relief to my eyes. Here was a man who understood the importance of showing respect. "Who dares call us disgraceful?" Addison bristled, ever the defender. "We're just being comfortable. It's bad enough you two embarrass yourselves, but dragging Grace into this... Shameful." Jack marched over, his gaze flickering between Matthew and Addison. "What's all this about? You didn't say a word at home." Addison huffed. "Do I really need to explain it?" Jack sighed, clearly at his wit's end. "I've been in mourning attire since we left the house. Didn't you even notice? We were all busy getting ready. You couldn't spare a glance." "Well, Dad's outfit wasn't exactly front and center," Matthew mumbled defensively. "I had to get myself and Victoria ready, you know." "When exactly did you take care of Victoria?" Jack countered, his voice firm. "How many conversations have you had with her since yesterday? And the tired from work excuse? Really, Matthew?" This public scolding was clearly unexpected, and Matthew could only look away sheepishly. Jack's words were like a dam breaking. Everything I'd been bottling up for so long about Matthew's behavior came flooding out. These were the things I'd been turning a blind eye to, the unspoken resentments. And here was Jack, finally saying the things I couldn't. "Hold on, Dad," Matthew sputtered, clearly flustered. "No need to yell, especially in public." He shot a glare at Addison, who remained stubbornly defiant. And this whole relative excuse about formality. Come on, it's not like you haven't been avoiding family gatherings altogether. You barely even visited Mom when she was in the hospital. It's always your way or the highway, and you only ever think about yourself. How dare you? Addison shrieked. You're the one who's selfish, always thinking about yourself and Matthew. If being comfortable at Mom's funeral is so important, why don't you both just pack your bags and move in with him? Let him take care of you in your old age. Jack scoffed, and Matthew waved his hands frantically in protest. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on a second. I can't just take care of Mom. That's Grace's job, right? I can help out financially, teamwork and all that. So, as usual, it all falls on me. I blurted out, unable to hold back any longer. Of course, Matthew snapped. You're a stay-at-home wife. That's your job. Apparently, my job is to take care of you and your parents while you're the breadwinner. I countered, my voice laced with anger. But let me tell you something, Matthew. I took a step closer, a sarcastic smile twisting my lips. This whole workaholic excuse is getting a little old. Are you really working all those late nights and weekend shifts? What? What are you talking about? He stammered, flustered. Of course I am. I'm sacrificing my personal time for the family. Liar, I shouted, cutting him off. I know the truth, Matthew. You're not swamped with work. You're seeing other women, aren't you? That's ridiculous. Where did you even get that idea? Normally, I wouldn't dare accuse Matthew of something like this, but Jack had somehow emboldened me. Then it hit me, a memory. Victoria said something a while back, I said, my voice trembling. Daddy always smells like soap. The shock of it still sticks with me. I lost so much weight, but you never even noticed. So, I decided to do some digging. While you were out working late, I was busy gathering evidence. Honestly, it wasn't exactly difficult to catch you in the act. Spying. That's low, even for you. Jack boomed, his words leaving Matthew speechless. I've been wrestling with whether or not to forgive you, Matthew, but then Victoria gave me the answer I needed. There's something I never thought I'd say. I began, a sad smile playing on my lips. Matthew seemed to sense what was coming. Victoria, come here, honey. I called her over. What is it, Mommy? She asked sweetly. Can you tell Daddy that liberation spell you told me about? A wide grin spread across Victoria's face. Victoria doesn't need Daddy anymore, she declared. Goodbye. The room fell silent. Jack was the first to react. He understood everything. He practically dragged a screaming Matthew and Addison out of the building, apologizing profusely to everyone on the way out. And just like that, Mom's journey came to an end. She was surrounded only by those who truly loved her. Dad was heartbroken, of course, but I couldn't shake the feeling that Mom had somehow paved the way for my future happiness. Later, I went to Matthew's parents' house with the divorce papers in hand. The tables had certainly turned for Addison and Jack. Addison was getting a major reality check, and Matthew seemed completely defeated after Victoria's words and the bombshell of the divorce. He tried to fight it at first, but things escalated quickly when his secret girlfriend, who had no idea he was married, sued him for alimony. Since the affair involved a business partner, the whole thing became a huge scandal at his company. He ended up getting child support duty, a forced transfer to a different office, and a massive dose of public humiliation. As for Victoria and me, we were ready to move on and find happiness in a new place, a new beginning for both of us. Thanks for watching and being part of this storytelling adventure. Click the subscribe button to support our storytelling channel.